Amazon have somehow done it. They've killed New World again. New World is dead. Long live New World Aeternum. So this is a little bit complicated, but please bear with me. And if I'm honest, it's been complicated more by Amazon Games themselves. To cut through all of the PR and the marketing, simply put, what has happened is that New World is getting an update and it's coming to console on October 15th in 2024. This version is called New World Aeternum. Console players will buy it as normal. You can pre-order it now, for example. And for PC players, if you own the base game and the expansion, you will get a free update, and that update will also have some content, but it will rename the game basically from New World to New World Aeternum. Now that sounds simple, and it doesn't even sound that bad, but there's been a lot of negative feedback when it comes to this. For example, the Steam reviews have pretty much been absolutely awful, and the community as a whole just are not happy. And you might be wondering why. That's a good question, right? It sounds not that bad. And really, it's all to do with how Amazon have communicated it. Quite frankly, it's been a mess, and a lot of New World players feel like they've suffered in the past and we're waiting for something good, and that's not going to happen as much as they thought it would. So for the marketing, it definitely seems that Amazon want to distance themselves from the New World launch on PC. They're basically marketing it as a brand new rebirth of the game that is solo or co-op experience, and it's an action RPG. It's not an MMO anymore, even though it obviously is. And they've done major engine reworks and massive story changes and all that kind of stuff, which are all sort of true, but it's probably being oversold. A lot of what they have done has been the changes that they've done in the last 3 years on the PC version. It's not like a massive rebirth like Final Fantasy XIV was. It's more of a rebranding and a relaunch because they want to distance themselves, and that I think has caused a lot of confusion in itself. I mean, even the MMO websites were confused. One article even said, "We are confused, this is a very confusing mix of games." One article claimed that the New World game as you know it was getting removed and replaced with an action combat RPG, which I mean, technically it sort of is, but not really. For example, what I think will happen on PC is that the name of the game will change from New World to New World Aeternum, and you'll get a patch. Nothing really radical there, but it makes it seem like it is. And that's all because of console, right? They want to distance themselves from that PC launch that didn't go very well, and they want console players to be like, hey, what is this game? Oh, they're redoing it? That sounds cool. But most of the things that they've redone, as I said, we've already seen. And honestly, it sort of feels like they're skipping parts when they communicate to the console audience. And the reality is, the PC gaming community of New World is being straight up ignored. You're being spoken as if you weren't there, and that you never existed. Now, there is apparently a dev video that's going to come and maybe address some of these issues, but that's not out at the time of recording this. But that communication, you can see in the dev video that they did release, is pretty much explaining what the game is, which of course, most of the people who are watching that are PC and already know it, but the console players don't, and it's actually for them. It's for the console audience, not for the PC gamers. And then there was a panel at IGN Live where they were answering questions like, what are the lost? Who are the Angry Earth? And those kind of basic things. All of the communication has not been towards the PC gamers, and that's left them frustrated because they want to know more about the things that they want to know more about, obviously. Now, let me be clear. I actually think as New World goes, this is probably a good change and probably a reasonable change of direction. Going to console makes sense, and most people aren't unhappy about it going to console. I think we all see the logic in it. Crossplay makes sense. There's a whole potential there of more players and all that kind of good stuff. However, it's probably going to be like you have to start on a fresh start server if you want to play with them. You technically won't, but logically speaking, you probably will. And really, most of the changes and the updates are actually good. Like, the content they're offering looks okay. Nothing is necessarily intuitively, instinctively bad. But what's happened is that the PC gamers feel like they've been ignored. And it's just been an absolute mess. I think I saw Shroud saying he was confused and angry. Asmongold wasn't happy. You know, people were confused. People weren't happy. A poop show, to put it bluntly. Whilst the confusing announcement is true, it doesn't really tell the whole story of New World, and it doesn't really tell you the whole reason why PC gamers are a little bit resentful at this moment in time. It's no secret that New World's launch was not great. There have been exploits, bugs, lack of endgame content, and so much more. And things over time haven't necessarily fully improved in the way you would have liked. For example, the expansion broke the MSQ for a lot of people, so people were coming back to the game, but they couldn't do the main story. There's been promises that weren't necessarily fully delivered. For example, there was a roadmap that had Season 4, and Season 4 was pretty much gutted. It just didn't happen the way that they said it was going to. Minor changes make sense, but they removed stuff and never replaced it. Even in the last season, in Season 5, there was a major combat rework, but that pretty much broke the game in massive ways, and it took them pretty much 2 months to fix it. And when they fixed it, they actually broke something else. And when they fixed that thing, it's not fully fixed either. So there's been a lot of bad stuff around New World for a long period of time, but one of the actual killers of this game is simply the lack of content. I mentioned it with Season 4, but it runs deeper than that. The expansion that we had in October, Rise of the Angry Earth, was pretty decent. It was a lot of little changes, but it was a little bit short on content. It was basically one zone and one expedition, one dungeon. Yes, there were other things like mounts which are cool and artifacts which are cool, but there wasn't exactly a lot of stuff in that, okay? And to put it in perspective, if you look from October 15th in 2023 to this year before the console version goes live, well, the content that we would have had will be very, very underwhelming, I think. It's very possible that in a 1 year period, we will have had one dungeon, that is a 5-man dungeon, and one 10-man dungeon that was basically 2 bosses. A couple of artifacts, a couple of little changes here and there, but honestly, nothing major for an MMO. Now, I know it's a buy-to-play MMO and the value's been good, and we're not talking about value here, but for players who just want content, that's not enough for a lot of us. So what has been this reason for the lack of content? Well, that's where it gets even more interesting, right? We were basically told to tune into Summer Game Fest for a big announcement. And keep in mind, at this point, they're talking to the PC gamers, right? They're not talking to console players at this point, because technically we don't even know console is coming. So pretty much for, I don't know, maybe 5-6 months, we've been told, hey, something big is coming. We'll tell you more when we can. Okay, we're going to tell it you at Summer Game Fest. And at one point, they did sort of troll their entire player base by making a dev video where it seemed like they were going to talk about stuff, only for the key important bits to be muted and blurred out. Now, there were little hints in that video. It was sort of supposed to be tongue-in-cheek, and it was a mistake, but, you know, it really got the community very mad. But anyway, don't worry, guys. Summer Game Fest, we're doing content. Got Lane at one point said 2024 is probably bigger than 2023. Hang in there, yo, something is coming. And the players got excited, right? Big announcements are always cool. Hype is very important. And what was that announcement? Well, it was basically that there's a major shift, and the major shift is, hey, we're not even talking to the PC players, we're talking to console players. So all the PC players who are waiting for something, we don't have anything for you right now. Now, whilst there is content, there are some cool things in the new console update, which is coming to PC. There's going to be like a 10-man raid, there's going to be like a free-for-all PvP extraction mode, possibly ranked arena, some interesting stuff that I'm happy to see most of it. A couple of concerns about the PvP zone, but let's not talk about that right now. So there's some content, but the issue is that PC New World players don't really feel like they've been addressed. We've been spoken around, we're being sort of ignored in a way. Console obviously isn't content for the PC players, and we were built up that this announcement would have all the content we wanted, kind of thing. And whilst that content is good, is that content good enough for a 1 year period? Probably not. A lot of players are looking at this and being like, is that the content that I want to see after 1 year? And they're coming to the conclusion, yeah, I don't think so. Now, there is a dev update apparently coming. Maybe there will be more than they've let on at the minute, because maybe the focus is console and they want to talk about PC later. If that is the case, that's all well and good, but then the messaging was absolutely just wrecked from the start. So either way it's bad, and either way it's Amazon's fault. Although it'd be slightly less bad if we actually get the content, because, you know, content is king. But the reality is, people don't believe it. And even if they give us like a roadmap, people won't believe that because they've missed roadmaps before. It's harsh, they only missed it for one update, but that's going to be the sentiment now. So all of these things have been combined. They basically butchered their announcement by not talking to the PC gamers at all and just confusing matters. Like, they confused the entire industry, not just the players. At one point, players were like, am I going to lose my character? Because it was literally that unclear. It felt like it was going to be an entirely new game, when in reality for PC it's just an update. And then, as I said, we've had so many issues that, you know, things have been broken. It's not like they have a lot of trust in the market anyway. And then on top of that, we've been lacking content, and they're saying this is when the content's going to be announced, and then the content that they have announced so far isn't that good. All of that combined has resulted in the players not being happy, and therefore it looks like New World is dead. Either way, New World officially is dead. New World Aeternum has replaced it. I actually don't think in the long term the game is dead. I think console might do very well. It's actually like almost perfectly built for console. The combat is really good. There's a bit of a question if PC gamers will smash them, but we're not really sure how the servers and stuff like that are going to work. Maybe there will be a console only server, but then what's the point in having crossplay if you do that? So don't really know what's going on there. But I think console New World, perfect fit. It might give them an excuse to make less content, also a perfect fit. It's just that they really strongly fumbled this and the PC gamers are just not happy. Long term, my personal theory is this: unless console sells amazingly well, Amazon Games have just recently opened up a studio in Romania, and that studio is apparently going to help with New World. Well, yes, I think they might help with New World by effectively taking on most of the development eventually. The same devs at the Orange County Irvine studio are the ones making the Lord of the Rings MMO on the same engine. Are they really going to be making a lot of content for New World while simultaneously working on a new MMO? My instinct is probably not. I think it's going to get moved to that Romanian studio, and whether or not it's sunset or maintenance mode or what have you, I think inevitably that's where it goes. Hopefully the Romanians will do a good job, add content, and maybe we'll all be happy. But that might not happen. Who knows? I'm sure they will if they do get it. Obviously that's all pure speculation on my part, but that's the future I see. Now, if console does really well, then it's very possible that they'll just expand the Irvine office a little bit and get more devs there. We'll have to wait and see. Who knows? Who knows? So why are players angry? Well, they fumbled the announcement. The game's had major issues for a long time, many bugs, all that kind of stuff. And then we were promised an announcement of content, and that content actually is sort of being bypassed us, even though it's sort of okay content. It's just not enough content. That's it. That's it. That's why players are angry. That's the story of New World. Let me know your thoughts. I am still currently streaming New World, so while this sounds like I'm leaving, I probably am leaving. I'm almost assuredly going somewhere else temporarily until the October update. Don't really know what I'm doing. As a content creator, it's a little bit weird. My audience is already New World. Either way, will come and talk to me about this, Ashes of Creation, whatever you want. I'm over on Twitch. I'll be streaming tomorrow, for example. Big shout out to my Patreons. At the minute, I really, really appreciate you guys and my Twitch subs as well. I hope you have a most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.